Good morning to you. You live in a shoe. It's 6:41 p.m. and I just finished filming a bunch of videos. I actually filmed this haul video that I don't know when I'm gonna put up. I'm thinking about just saving it for down the road when I need a video to post. And so yeah, but I wanted to show you guys that here is like everything from what people gave me to my haul to bandanas that I bought to do face masks in. I'm currently, so this is going upstairs to the bathroom. I'm so excited. It's all the stuff I bought, all the stuff I've been given. I'm currently melting, this is lemon and vetiver, and I have 2 of them going. So this stuff is going upstairs. I have like done a little bit of cleaning in here today, and it is absolutely beautiful outside, but it's kind of like a hazy day outside. I've been uploading videos. Alex has been nice enough to be in bed and just watch movies today, which has been really sweet because I've been able to film my videos. And my stomach has like been killing me all day long. I'm not really sure what it was, but I'm starting to think maybe it was from the grease from the pizza last night, because I don't eat greasy stuff at all anymore. And you know, I very rarely have Taco Bell, and for some reason my stomach has just been kicking all day long today. So I think that it's the grease maybe from the pizza. But I'm gonna go take this stuff upstairs and finish uploading my videos, and I will be back in a little while. Bye. Hello, hello, hello. I am going to pick up Tanya, take her to get a fountain pop. I already have one from dinner tonight. We went to Cheesecake Factory, and I got a to-go cup. I filmed, I can't remember, last time I was in the living room when I talked last. I filmed my videos, and then I went upstairs, and Alex was really hungry, so he was like, let's go out to eat somewhere. And I was like, okay, where do you want to go? He was like, I don't really care, but I want a cheeseburger. I said, well, let's go to Cheesecake Factory then. So we went to Cheesecake Factory. It was dead on Memorial Day, which I thought was interesting. Everybody out having their barbecues. So it was not bad for us. We got in like real quick. And then we came home, and I was like, I'm gonna lay down for a little bit. And he was watching the end of a movie in bed, so I got into bed, and the dogs were in bed, and we were all in bed, and it was fun. And I fell asleep. I was like out. I like set my alarm for like a half an hour because I was gonna do a live stream, but then I kept on snoozing my alarm, and Alex was like, can you turn your alarm off, please? And so I turned the alarm off, and then I fell asleep until about a half an hour ago. It's 11:36 right now. And I woke up, and it was so funny because when I woke up, Alex was like going to sleep, and I said, are you going to bed? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I'm exhausted. So sure, he was in bed all day long watching movies. I said, okay. I said, I think I'm gonna go to Fountain Pop with Tanya, because like when I got up, I looked, and she had literally texted me, and it said 1 minute ago. And I said, yeah, so let me get out of the house, or give me a second to get out of the house. So then I got up, and I took the dogs out. Well, first I gave PB his medicine, and then I took the dogs out, and now I am on my way to Tanya Jean's. And my hair looks like that old lady hair that you see up in the casino when they've been like sleeping on it, and they just kind of like brush it out. I just didn't feel like wearing a hat. All of the stuff that I've had in the kitchen, all of the beauty stuff that people have sent me, that I have shown in my PO unboxings for like the last month or 2, all of the Lush stuff, everything that I have had that's in my kitchen is put away in my bathroom or in my little messenger bag that I carry with me. But mostly all in the bathroom. All my lip scrubs are organized, all my face masks, everything is organized in my bathroom. I'm so happy to finally have it up there where I can use it, because it's been in bags in my kitchen. And I finally filmed that haul today, which I was super excited about because I wanted to start using all that stuff, but I didn't want to use it before I did the haul. So I got that done. It was, the haul, are you ready for this? Ended up being 35 minutes when I pieced it all together. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the longest haul video in the world. I've watched haul videos, but they don't usually seem to be that long. I don't know why mine is that. I mean, I like raced kind of right through it. Ooh, I don't know why it ended up being that long. But that's what it is, so. After midnight, this light is flashing, and it's not flashing right now. But I always come through here when it's flashing. The car didn't look like it was gonna stop. So anyway, yeah, that was my day. It was pretty relaxing. It was a pretty fun day. Didn't really do a whole lot. Tomorrow, I have a few things to do in the early afternoon, and then I'll probably make my videos in the afternoon. I have no idea what I'm making my videos about tomorrow yet. And then we have marriage counseling tomorrow night, and then I'm going to my meeting with Tanya, unless for some reason she's not going, and then I probably won't go, but that's my plan. Although I may call my sponsor tomorrow and see if she wants to go to oh, no, I can't do that, because her meeting on Tuesdays is at 7, and I don't get out of marriage counseling until 7, and it's downtown, so I can't do that. But what was I gonna say? I can't remember what I was just gonna say about tomorrow night. I don't know, something. So yeah, that's my plan for tomorrow. Oh, I was gonna say, we are doing something different with marriage counseling tomorrow. It was funny because we were at dinner and I said, what do you want to talk about at marriage counseling tomorrow? And he was like, why are you asking me now? We usually wait till we get in there and then like one of us starts. And I was like, I know. I said, but I was just like, what do you, like maybe if we went in there and we had like an agenda of what we wanted to talk about, instead of us like, you know, talking about little things and then all of a sudden we find a theme. And he was like, I like that idea. I was like, let's do that for tomorrow. So we kind of talked about some things that had happened like in the last 2 weeks. And like different perceptions over like stupid little stuff that happens around the house. But then, you know, like you kind of borrow that stuff. It's really more communication things. Our communication has like improved so greatly. It was funny, our dinner tonight kind of felt like when we were in Miami. I don't know why, but it was nice. We weren't on our phones and we were just sitting there, you know, talking about silly little stuff and our upcoming trip and things that we want to do, and yeah. I'm like almost done paying off this car, and I've been like paying extra on it every month for like the last year. I mean, not tomorrow, I won't have it paid off, but I've been paying like extra and trying to get it paid off early. And my plan when I get it paid off is to drive it, you know, I mean, if I traded it in right now, I wouldn't get a lot of money for it. It's got a lot of miles on it, I'm almost embarrassed to say. And I mean, it's like, if you saw it inside and out, you would think it was like a 2015 or 16. I mean, it looks pretty new. And it's nice, you know, it's got a nice radio system and, you know, sunroof, and it's a nice car. And, but I don't think I would get a lot of money for it because it's a 2012 with a lot of miles on it. And it's not an expensive car anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is just drive it, especially since it's, you know, still doing well, for another year or two after that, maybe a year, and put money aside so the money that I would be putting into a car payment, setting aside into like a savings account just for my car, and then at the end of the year, taking that and going and putting that down into a car, or buying another car outright with that, like if I bought a used car for that amount of money or whatever. But I don't really know what I want to get next. Although I feel like the universe is telling me to get a Jeep Wrangler, because I wanted one, and now I feel like every time I look, there's a Jeep Wrangler, like right there. And I remember when I read The Secret, like years and years ago, and I really believe in the philosophy of the law of attraction. If you haven't read The Secret, that's what it's about. I really believe in that, but I don't necessarily believe in it the way that it was presented in The Secret, although I thought The Secret was a great book. You know, the whole idea of, like, if you want something, visualize it, but then you have to work a lot towards that too, you know? And I remember at that time I really wanted a Porsche Cayenne. Don't ask, I don't know, probably because I saw it in like one of the Kardashian shows and I thought it was a hot car. Now it's like the new minivan around here, but I mean, I still like them, but I probably, if I was going to get a Porsche, I wouldn't probably get a Cayenne. And so anyway, like at that time it was so weird. I don't know if it was because I had like consciously really thought of it, so therefore I was seeing it everywhere, if that makes sense. But like everywhere I went, I saw Porsche Cayennes, and specifically red ones, because I wanted a red one. And like now I want a 2-door like Jeep Wrangler, and I'm seeing them, not 2-door, 4-door, sorry. I'm seeing them everywhere. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like, is this the universe speaking to me about my law of attraction? I don't know. I have a good friend of mine, and she has a 4-door Jeep. They bought their daughter a 4-door Jeep. Their son and their 2 sons each have 4-door Jeeps. And the husband's the only one that doesn't drive a Jeep. And like every one of them in the family except for the father drive. I don't know what he drives. They all drive 4-door Jeeps. And she's always like, yeah, we're a Jeep family. Her favorite colors are camouflage and pink together. Isn't that cute? I love that. Today was such a nice Indiana, like, early evening. It was a nice summer afternoon too, but it was just really hot and hazy. My camera stopped. I didn't even see that the light was on. But anyway, I was at the Walmart, and I was parked in the Walmart parking lot, and I like looked across like the street, and it was like this beautiful sky. I couldn't really capture it in the sunlight very well because there was like cars in front of me, and it was like kind of far away. And it was, anyway, I tweeted this picture out, and it was like I was like, Indiana summer, windows down, wind in my hair, music blasting. I was like Midwestern proud. Midwestern pride, I think I said. But it was a beautiful summer night. Alex and I were walking out of Cheesecake Factory. I was like, it's so pretty outside. He was like, I know, it is really pretty. He was like, I love that it's like after 9 o'clock and it's still sunny outside. And it was sunny outside till like 9:30. I think it's like a full moon or something tonight. The other thing that I love is that you see bunny rabbits everywhere. Because, you know, they were born in the spring, so now they're getting just old enough to be out on their own. And it's cute, because you can tell they're kind of like little, but they're like long. Like, they're, you know, like when a puppy gets kind of long when it starts growing. Boo Radley still looks like that, kind of. He thinks he's a rabbit sometimes. I said, Boo Radley, you're not a rabbit. He said, Dad, you said I could be whatever I wanted to be. I'm like so obsessed. Okay, so I watched My Favorite Murderer last night. I stayed up way too late, watched it. I listened to My Favorite Murder podcast last night about the Golden State Killer, and they had Paul Holes on there. That was like the detective that helped solve the case. He retired, and then they caught him like 2 weeks later. He's like this sexy detective. If you've seen this guy, he is so hot to trot. Google search Paul Holes. He is hubba, very attractive. And he's also a detective, a retired detective, which like that together I think is nice little package there. But anyway, he's a real attractive older guy. And that's older guys out there maintaining. Anyway, it was real sweet too, because apparently there's some hashtag going around about how cute or how sexy he is or whatever. And they were like, what does your wife think about it? And he was like, oh, my wife thinks she gets a kick out of it and all this kind of stuff. And she doesn't mind it at all. And it was just real cute how they handled it. And this one girl was like real embarrassed because she thinks he's real sexy. The one person on my, what do you call it, on my favorite murder. Have you guys listened to that podcast? Okay, but now I'm like totally, let me text Tanya that I'm here. I'm here. I'm like totally obsessed with all of these cases, and they were talking on there too about the Allentown 4, which I don't know much about, but it's apparently about these 3 kids and this woman that they found in these barrels. Did you hear about this? Oh my God, the story is horrible. And then they were talking all about like, well, I was talking to a friend today about the Zodiac Killer, and they think that they're going to be able to figure out who the Zodiac Killer is. So this whole DNA thing that they're now doing through like Ancestry.com. It's crazy to hear about all this, and it just like is a total game changer now when you listen to, okay, so when you hear about how it all goes down, it's, oh my God, she's got on such a cute little dress. Awesome. Look at you in your cute dress. Your what?
It's my PJs. Could you please move your stuff there, Mr. Monn?
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you, babe.
My camera's going, by the way.
Oh no. Keep it turned. Oh, this car feels like heaven.
You smell good. What do you have on?
Lotion.
Is it musk?
No, it's.
Look at her cute little dress.
Not musk.
Look at that. Here, show.
It's my PJs.
That's not your PJs. It's a summer dress. Did you get that at the Meyer?
No, it's my PJs.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at Kohl's. It's, what's that chick's name? Stella.
All right, well, we're gonna get off here. She wants to smoke a cigarette, so we're gonna get off here. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye. Night.
I have to show this just to prove this, okay? We've literally, how long did it take us to get from your house to here?
4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay? And I was just talking about this. Look at this. It's a Jeep Wrangler. Oh my God.
That's what we read in.
Look at this. Ah!
She's putting her lip gloss on.
So Tanya and I just planned something. Should we tell them what we planned? It's a little bit of a surprise.
Oh my gosh, Peter.
Oh my gosh, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, there. But should we tell them what we planned?
You can.
She's like trying. Look at her getting off the screen. We're gonna. We decided that we're gonna rent a hotel room for the day, and because somebody said Airbnb, so we think we're gonna do a hotel room, like maybe like a nice one downtown somewhere. Now when I put you in the thumbnail, they'll be like, that's not very nice of you to put Tanya in the thumbnail. So we're going to get a hotel room, and we're going to do the magnetic eyelashes video, and then we're going to do a best friend Q&A in the hotel room, and then the rest of the day we're just going to swim and have lunch brought in.
Let's do that.
And have a little spa day. That would be really fun. If we did the Conrad, we could go to the spa.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
So that's what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to get a fountain Coke now. Well, she is. I'm going to get a water.
I'm going to get a water, too.
You are?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, so I dropped Miss Tanya off. We drove around for a little bit. Listened to some gospel music. She was like, you were talking the other day about singing I Surrender Thee by CeCe Winans. She was like, play it for me. So I played her that. And then we listened to a little His Eyes on the Sparrow that went into Amazing Grace. I don't know why. I was telling her, like, I got this comment on my vlog the other day, and it upset me, but when I say it upset me, I want to make it clear what I mean by that. It didn't upset me like it made me angry, or I guess, like, I just didn't want to offend anybody. And it was, somebody made a comment about when I was talking about my higher power and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And it was when I was sharing the story about Oprah and surrendering and stuff. And the comment was something, and I'm just going to paraphrase it. And I wasn't, like, I want to make this very clear. I wasn't offended by the comment or anything like that. But the comment was something like, I'm glad that, you know, God is there for you and Oprah. But then, like, what about the rest of the people in the world and all this kind of stuff, and like where is God for them and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know, like really kind of like, it's interesting what comments like kind of stick in my head, so to speak, you know. And I was talking to Tanya a little bit about it. I said I felt bad, like that's not the message that I want to send out, you know. And the person said in there that there is not much of a difference between spirituality and a religion. And let me just make this very, very clear. I am not a religious person whatsoever. So there is a huge difference to me between spirituality and religion. And I almost kind of think, like, in the terms that I speak about it, I don't think you can really understand it unless you're part of a 12-step program. If 12-step programs were religious programs, I don't know that I would have any spiritual belief in my life today. I was pretty turned off by God concepts when I got sober. My attitude was that if there was a God, why did God put me through the things that I had gone through in my life? You know, there were some pretty horrific things that happened to me when I was growing up. And by the time that I got sober, I was really angry. I didn't really have a place to put that anger. And so I think, like, when other people would talk about God, that word I don't even necessarily like sometimes. It really bothered me, you know? And so, like, I've told a story on here. I was in a meeting one night. This was when I was in early sobriety, and I went to the back of the room and was standing there smoking a cigarette, and this woman came back to me and she said, why did you leave the meeting? This changed my perspective on everything. And she said, why did you leave the meeting? And I said, because they were talking about God. And they were, like, everybody was saying, well, God this, God that, God this. And it just was like, I was kind of like, anybody at that point that used the word God to me was a Bible thumper, and I didn't want to hear what they had to say. And so I said, I left because they were talking about God. And she was like, is that what you heard? And she said, baby, take what you like and leave the rest. Those were her exact words. Baby, take what you like and leave the rest. And in that moment, and she gave me like this huge hug, and you know, in that moment, I don't really know how to explain what happened, but like a little crack in a door opened for me to realize that maybe there was something bigger than me out there. I'd also had kind of a spiritual moment the night that I went into treatment, and I've talked about that on here before too. But you know, when you read the stories about 12-step programs and how they got started, a big part of that, the story, is that we are able to develop our own understanding of a higher power. It isn't what somebody else dictates to us. And, you know, I, at about 2 years sober, went on this grand journey of spiritual belief. And I've talked about this in here before, but like my sponsor at the time, it is so hot, I'm turning on the air. My sponsor at the time said, you know, like, I said, I don't really feel like I have any idea what God is, like, or what, you know, my higher power is. And for 2 years, I have been like getting down on my knees and saying, you know, help in the morning and thank you at night. And that was basically the condition of my prayer. I mean, that was really it. I didn't know what I was saying that to. I didn't know if it was a who, if it was a concept. I didn't know if it was the wind. I didn't know what it was. And so I went on this kind of like journey, I would say, and I didn't know where to start. And so I said to him, I said, you know, like, where do I start? And he was like, well, how do you usually find information, you know, when you're looking into things? I said, well, I read. I'm a reader. I love to read. He goes, well, then read, you know? And he said, what's your biggest fear? And I said, my biggest fear is death. I'm scared to death to die. I'm scared to death to die. But I was scared. I was like terrified of death. And he said, okay. And he said, then find a book that will help you with your fear of death. And this is going to sound crazy. I've told this whole story on here before, but this will sound crazy. So I think this is important, because when I say, like, I listen to songs like I Surrender Thee or gospel music, it's not because like I'm a Jesus freak or I go to church on Sundays, because I don't do any of that stuff, okay? I feel like, hey, if that's your gig, do it. I think that's great. Like, my mother was very involved in her church until she died, and it was great that she did that. If that works for you, I think that's great. I think, you know, if your religion, if your belief doesn't hurt anybody else, then more power to you. There are a lot of organized religions out there that hurt people, and I don't stand behind those, okay? But, like, if your beliefs don't hurt people, then have at that. You know what I mean? Like, if it's personal and it's not offensive to anybody, and then, you know, do your thing. But, like, for me, when I listen to gospel music, it's not because of all of that. It's because there's something to me that is inspiring about the music. I don't, but you know, like, I can listen to a Bob Dylan song and feel the same way sometimes, you know? I can sometimes listen to, and I don't listen to a lot of gospel music on it. I just don't, you know? It's sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But, like, I don't listen to it every day. I listen to it, like, maybe once every 3 or 4 months when I'm going through something and I think, hey, I need to be inspired today, you know? But I can listen to Judy Collins. I can listen to Joan Baez. A lot of times I go to old music that I listened to from my mom when I was growing up, you know? You know, I can listen to, like, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, like, Teach Your Children, and, like, that inspires me just as much as, you know, I don't know, My Back Pages by Bob Dylan or something. So, anyway, I went to go find, you know, a book that would help me deal with my fear of death. And for me, what that was that I really wanted to visualize some kind of afterlife. Like, I wanted to know if there was some kind of afterlife. And so I got Sylvia Browne, the psychic, who I'm sure is a complete phony, but I got her book called The Other Side and Back. And, you know, like, I think sometimes it's about reading some book at the right time of your life. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, what the book is necessarily, as long as it, like, connects with you. And in the book, it talked a lot about, I needed to be able to visualize something that would give me some hope. And so in the book, she talks a lot about working with a soul group and, you know, like, that you basically have, like, a guardian animal sometimes. I don't know. A lot of it just connected for me. And so when I got done with reading that, I wanted to read more. And when I had first gotten sober, I read The Celestine Prophecy, which is not a religious book. It's not even really considered a spiritual, kind of, but not even really considered a spiritual book. But it's really just about, like, how we interact with people and how to, like, enlighten ourselves and things like that. And it's a fictional book. And so it's by James, I think, James Redfield. And so I reread it at 2 years sober. That was the next book that I read. And then from there, I got, like, really kind of into reading all different kinds of books. And I read, like, several books on Taoism. I read, like, the Tao of Pooh, because I needed things that are, like, very simple for me to understand. I read the Tao of Oz, which was about, it took you through, like, the Wizard of Oz. It's a very interesting book. I talked about this in my live stream the other night. My mom loved this book called Living Buddha, Living Christ, which talked about how Buddha and Christ were basically very similar in their mission of love, compassion, kindness, you know, tolerance, things like that. And, oh, this is funny. Like, this truck I usually take down this road is closed off, so I'll have to turn around. But anyway, my mom bought me a lot of books on Native American wisdom and Kabbalism. My mom had worked in an Orthodox Hebrew school, like, when she was pregnant with me, called Beis Yaakov in Chicago. I think it still exists, actually. And so she was always very interested, long before the movie stars did Kabbalism. She was very interested in Kabbalism, which is the mystical form of Judaism. And I don't know that I even fully, to this day, understand really a lot about it. But what I found on my journey was really that I found concepts, honestly. And I found concepts, like, I say them in a lot of my videos: love, compassion, kindness, tolerance, patience, teachability, humility. And I found that that was the common thread that existed in a lot of these different religions. And those were the things that I was attracted to. I was attracted to these concepts of being a kinder, more compassionate person, of understanding, trying to understand somebody else when you're standing on their front porch, walking around in their shoes, like Atticus says in To Kill a Mockingbird. And that was kind of how I formed my spiritual beliefs. So, no, I'm not a religious person. I am a spiritual person, and I believe that is of the soul. I believe that is of who I am as a person, as a spirit. I do believe that humans have a soul. I personally believe that, and when I share these things in my vlog, they're just my experience. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be anything that you get around. But I don't believe that me feeling that some kind of higher power is in my life means that it's not capable for it to be in somebody else's life either. But before I started my journey, I can honestly tell you, I did not feel that there was any spirituality in my life. I was pretty angry. I was pretty bitter at the world. I felt like if there was a God, why would a God do that to me? So any God that existed out there, fuck him, fuck her, fuck it. And I was angry, you know, and that was where my spiritual conditioning came from. I had no foundation for love and compassion in my life. I was selfish. I was manipulative. And I was lonely, I was sad, you know, and over time what I realized was that my spiritual beliefs, okay, and there's a saying in 12-step programs that I love that is, religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell. Religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been there. And, you know, and I have a lot of friends of mine. I'm going to turn around this country road, which is like spooky as hell out here because I am having to turn around between 3 cornfields. Okay, I have a lot of friends of mine that are very, very religious people. And you know what? It works for them, and that's what they like. But I don't find that. And there's another saying that is said that a car doesn't have to be parked in a garage to be a car. A person doesn't have to be in a church to be spiritual, or something to that degree. And I like that idea, you know, because I don't find what I need from organized religion. If you do, that's fantastic. And if you find what you need to find by never being a spiritual person or never being religious or going to a church or reading a book or whatever, you know, or hearing a song, that's fine too. I'm just sharing my experience, and I didn't want to offend anybody by thinking that me sharing my experience means that I think that, you know, like God is there for me. And I say God, but I just say it because it's easiest for me, especially in the construct of a 12-step program, that if I say it in there, people know what I mean. And so it's easier for me than just saying always my higher power. So I say God, but to me it's pretty universal. You know, and there's a lot of people that believe in, like GOD stands for good orderly direction, or put another O in there and say good, and, for people that struggle with it and whatever. But it doesn't have to mean anything. It can mean the wind, it can mean whatever. And the other thing is that God's been there for me in my darkest times as well. Like when shit's really going south, like when I've had some really horrific stuff going on in my life, God has been present in my life. I know that now looking back, right? The fact that I was unable to see it was me, with this umbrella up from the sunshine of the Spirit. I'm not a believer that if there's a God, the world's gonna be a perfect place. I do not believe that, okay? I do not believe that God in my life works to alleviate everything horrible and only allow good in my life. That's just not the case. I believe that my spiritual understandings, my spiritual construct and concepts of love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, humility, patience is how I get through those times, if that makes sense. It also allows me to accept the good things that happen to me with remembering I'm no different than anybody else, okay? So 90% of the things that happen to me that are good are luck, and the other 10% are hard-ass work. That's just the reality, And so I didn't want to come across as offensive by talking about that. I was actually kind of really appreciative of the comment because it really made me kind of think, of what originally turned me away from any kind of God thought ever, because I was surrounded, you know, in high school, like, my mom had friends, and I don't know, like, first of all, grow up knowing you're gay inside around people that are religious, and I was never even evolved around people that were like in evangelical religions, but it was enough where gay was not okay. You know, we're in a different world today when it comes to religion and same-sex marriage and all that kind of stuff. I mean, some churches are starting to accept it, but back then nobody did. You know what I mean? So for me to ever open my mind up to that kind of idea was really hard for me back then, you know, and I don't know. You know, I've said this a million times in my videos. If at the end of my life I find out that there's nothing, it's just total blackness, okay, well, what have I lost out by trying to look at things in my life through the concept of kindness and love and understanding and remaining teachable, you know? And if at the end I find out there is something, well, then that's a blessing, you know? But, like, I'm either not going to know because it's going to be just total blackness forever. And I don't know. I can't sit here and say that I absolutely 100% believe in an afterlife, but I do believe in an afterlife. I just can't say I 100% do because I don't know, you know? I'd like to think that there was one. I'd love to see my mom again. You know, I'd love to be reconnected with people from the past, or think that there's some purpose past this earth, you know, that it wasn't all just for nothing. But that also keeps me very grounded in knowing that this is my life here on earth, and make the most of it. So I hope that wasn't offensive to anybody. I hope my share, anytime that I tell a story on here, a spiritual story, it is only me sharing my, you know, experience, strength, and hope. Like, I'm not telling somebody else what to believe or what they shouldn't believe or whatever. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't feel like my spiritual beliefs come across. Like, this was honest to God the first time I've ever had anybody say to me that it was almost kind of a sense of entitlement, that of course you and Oprah would have a God in your life that's doing things for you, but what about the, you know, millions of other people that God is not there for? I never had anybody present it to me that way before, and so it really made me think, like, well, are you coming across that way? And I don't think that I do. I really don't think that I do. I've made it clear in a lot of my videos, get right with yourself. Like, you know, do what you got to do for you, what's true to you. And I believe, you know, that there's a lot of really ugly shit that goes on in there in the world. And, you know, I was watching, what was I watching the other day? God, who was I talking to about this? Or I was watching something, and they were talking, I was watching some video. God, what was it? And they were talking about Mother Teresa. Oh no, this was in my meeting last week that I went to, and that I talked about in here. And this guy that I was talking to, that, you know, I was sharing that his, like, lead had changed my life when I heard it years ago. He was, you know, talking to me afterwards, and he said, you know, I heard this interview with Mother Teresa, and they said to her, like, shortly before she passed away, in an interview, they said, what's the first thing that you're going to say to God when you meet God? And she said, I don't know, but I've got a lot of questions. And, you know, I think that's the thing, is, like, I don't know that any of us really truly understand. And if there is some higher power at work, I say, because I cannot say for a fact, you know, it's the great illusion. We'll never know. You know, I'd love to say that I can find miracles and things that happen. I'd love to say that this is a God moment, but is it? I don't know. It feels like it sometimes. But it was not a short journey that got me there, you know? And I would sit, you know, when I was in high school, and I went to school with these kids that would be like, well, you know, Jesus tells us, and it was like, I always wondered, like, okay, I've gone to church as much as you have, and I've never internalized it. Like, I don't feel that, like, when you say that the Bible says, Jesus said, like, that means nothing to me. It, like, rolls off me, like, it has no bearing in my life. Like, it honestly means nothing to me when you say that. And I would sit there and I would think, surely they're so phony, like, this just can't be real. Like, they don't really believe that, right? Well, maybe for them they believed it in that context, but that's not how I believe it. Like, I don't speak that. That's not the language that I speak, you know? And my friends that are around me know that, like, I can, like, today I rolled down the window. Okay, so here was a spiritual moment for me. Alex and I went to go to Cheesecake Factory for dinner tonight, and while they were there, they played this song, and I'd never heard this song. It was like, so I tagged it on the Shazam. You know, I love the Shazam, and I bought it, and it was this Colby Calais song. Is that how you pronounce her name? Called Gold Mine. And I had never heard of it before. And it's this super happy song, and it's like, I feel like I'm sitting on top of a gold mine. Anyway, look it up. It's on YouTube. And I got it on iTunes. And Alex wanted to go home and let the dogs out. And so I dropped him off because I was going to do a live stream, but then I ended up taking a nap. And I rolled the windows down, and because I just wanted to like drive for 5 minutes and listen to this song, and I rolled the windows down, and the sky was like pink and purple. It was like such a beautiful summer day, summer evening, and I rolled the windows down, and I had the music blasting, and I was like dancing in my car while I was singing to it, and in that moment, I felt so spiritual. I felt of the soul. I felt like something inside of me had come alive. Call that God, call that Buddha, call that the wind, call that my love of music, call it inspiration. I don't care what you call it. It was a feeling inside of me that in that moment made me feel love. I felt alive, you know? And that to me is the basis for all of my spiritual beliefs. So, you know, like, it's important for me to talk about these things. It means something to me, you know? And I've learned a lot about myself having to look through it through the spectrum of spirituality, through compassion, kindness, love, all that. I've said it a million times now. But you know what I mean? Like, I have to look through that, because if there are moments that I'm not being forgiving, or there are moments that I'm not remaining teachable, and I have to ask myself, what's your resistance here? Like, what is your resistance? Like, why are you not? Because, I sit there and say, remain teachable, but there are moments that I'm like, no, I know it's best. I'm going to stay angry. I'm going to stay bitter. I'm going to stay miserable. Why? Why am I choosing that option? You know? What's the alternative? To maybe accept and look at this and go, why am I so cold-hearted? You know, why am I so angry about this one issue? And, it's like, all I can do is just look at what has gotten me here. And, that kind of resistance is exactly where I was that night, 23 probably years ago, when I was standing, at the back of a meeting. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly where it was. I don't even know if it was Chevy Union Hall. I don't even know if they have meetings there anymore or not. I was standing back there when she came up to me, and she looked at me and she said, take what you like and leave the rest, And for 23 years, I've taken what I've liked and I've left the rest. And that would be my suggestion to anybody out there, believe what you want to believe. It's your life. You don't have to believe anything. But I will say this. Unless somebody is judging your life through the eyes of their religion, which I've had done to me a lot, I hope that you can relate to that and imagine that I've had a lot of people judge me for being gay, as well as being a person in recovery, sober or not, okay? Especially being a married gay man. I've had a lot of religious people pass judgment on me. So unless somebody is passing judgment through the eyes of religion and using that as a screen to stand behind, let them have their shit. Let them do their thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Do your thing. As long as you're over there and you're not hurting anybody. It's when the religions hurt people and they limit them that I have an issue with it. You know what I mean? But even then, like, if you're not affecting me, like, one of the things that baffles my mind, like, I've said this before, but it baffles my mind, is these people that have no gay people in their life whatsoever, right? And they could care less about ever wanting to befriend a gay person or really trying to understand it. And yet they're the ones that are standing with picket signs, and really want, like, this is going to be their life's mission. Well, if your life's mission at the end of your life is to look back and be so happy, okay, that you worked your entire life based on your religious beliefs to keep two people apart that love each other, if that is your proudest moment in your life, you have to deal with that. I'm thankful I spent my time, okay, listening to music, reading books, watching movies, spending time with people that I love, not allowing people to stand in front of my dreams. If that is your proudest moment, have at it. And I think that's where, you know, religion gets a really bad rap a lot of times from people. It's like, okay, religion's not for me. I just don't get anything out of it, okay? But that doesn't mean that somebody else isn't. But when religions do ugly things to the world, okay, and cast judgment, people have issues with it. And rightfully so, right? And rightfully so. So, I mean, when you're judging me based on absolutely nothing that has any merit to it whatsoever, of course I'm going to be upset. So I understand, but that was also the resistance that stopped me from even seeing that me driving with my windows down and the music playing really hard could be a spiritual moment for me, you know? Like that, it could be, that made me feel alive. And those moments that make me feel alive are spiritual moments for me. For me, that's just my experience. So anyway, I wanted to say thank you for the comment. It made me really think about things. I'm going to continue to talk about my spiritual beliefs on here in relation to my life and the stories that I share because I think they're important. And for me to tell them, not to try to change anybody's opinion. You know, like, people have said in my comment section below, you know, hey, Peter, I'm glad that you shared that story with me. I don't relate to it whatsoever. Okay. You don't have to. Like, you know. I also don't want people arguing over my belief systems. You know what I mean? Like, the comment was a little harsh, how it was said, but, like, somebody else came back and kind of said something in response to, like, well, maybe it's because of this, and I don't know. I don't know what each person's journey is. Each of us has a journey. What's your journey, you know, like, and I don't talk about this often on here, just so people know. I want to make this very clear. My husband is 100% an atheist, okay? A total atheist. My ex was an atheist. We don't have conversations. I'll say things like, oh, this is a God moment, or blah, blah, blah. I mean, he understands the language I speak and whatever, but he doesn't buy into any of it. He just doesn't, okay? And he has his reasoning behind it. You know, my husband had a cousin that was shot and murdered in Venezuela, and Alex believes that, where is God in that moment? Okay, they were kids. And, that's my husband's spiritual journey. He has to deal with that, you know, or lack thereof. And I respect his lack of belief. And, you know, I think it's important for people to know that, you know, you can have a relationship with somebody that has a completely different spiritual belief system than you do, and it doesn't mean that you can't get along. Do you know what I mean? So I really believe that I hope that people can watch my videos, and just because they don't agree necessarily with where I'm coming from, that they still can kind of, to some degree, be like, hey, I still like Peter. I like what he has to say. I just don't agree with this topic. We're not going to agree with everything. My God, I vlog for an hour almost every night. You know, I'm almost at 30 minutes. So not everything I say are you guys going to agree with. Anyway, I'm going to end it here because I'm at 30 minutes. I love you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful start to your week, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.